Hi everybody, this is Jimmy and welcome back to Jimmy Does Knitting. This is my knitting podcast where I pick a topic and we go from there. Today's topic, finished objects only. September was kind of a lot of knitting, but nothing really done, not a lot of progress to show you. But now we have some finishes and I'm excited to show you. So we'll talk about these. First, some admin. One, it is very gloomy and dark today. Like the weather app had like the moon in like the weather thing, but like for the whole day, so it might look like I'm filming at night. Technically, this is like the sunniest part of the day. Who knows? Two, I pulled out my back. I am an old man. I went rowing and I pulled out my back. I went to the chiropractor. Everything was going fine, and today it was just like, ugh. So movements may be weird. There might be some odd cuts. That's what's happening with that. The Wool Patch. The Wool Patch is a store in the UK. It is owned by Stuart, and for Christmas he is doing a window display. So for the Olympics he did the Olympi hens, which was the emotional support chicken, and people knitted them in different colors of country to make it look like the flags. And it was really cool, and so for Christmas he wanted to do something different, and he is going to be using my Chianti cardi as Christmas trees, essentially. So he's having people knit Chianti cardis, send them in, and then he'll put them in like, you know, a circle and almost like a tiered cake to make it look like a Christmas tree, and do that. So that's really cool. I will link all of Stuart's stuff below, but because of this, I have set up a discount code for my Chianti cardi just to make it a little bit nicer to, like, if you want to participate in that. If you want to make them for yourself, that's also fine. It doesn't really matter to me, but the idea is knit one for Stuart, but you can do whatever you want with this. It can be green, it can be striped, it can be whatever you want. The code for that is going to be on Ravelry, and that's going to be good for until Christmas Day. It is 25% off with the code PatchMiss24. The links to all of that stuff will be below. One more thing I wanted to mention is that YouTube is just not suggesting my video to people. It's really like, they're like, no, we're not dealing with you anymore. So if you like, subscribe, comment, that really helps me out. Tell a friend. I have recently created another playlist on my channel, which is all my pattern review videos. Those, for some reason, have had an uptick recently, probably because it is knitting weather. I have LGBTQ designers that you can go and look at. I have men's knitwear suggestions. I have unisex knitwear suggestions, and some pattern roundups or ideas for black yarn. All that stuff, it's on that playlist. So if you're interested in learning about that and having sort of a different format, then you can go there. I think that's all the admin. Let's get into the knitting. What I'm wearing, I will talk about this later, but I'm wearing the Modern Mudcloth by Mathews, and this is a piece of knitting. This feels so good. This yarn is incredible, and it's, I think, a stunning piece, and I hope that it shows well on camera, but we'll get into that. Firstly, though, let's go into some like winter accessories because it is nearing winter time and it just got cold here in Amsterdam, and I wanted to make some stuff for biking. So let's check it out. The first one I have is this Gordes Beanie by Meghan Babin, or Mego's Pearls, and she is an amazing designer. She's one of the owners of Hudson's and West, and she knows how to knit a cable. Like, her cable knitting is phenomenal. She does seamed garments. They fit impeccably. They're so well written. I can't recommend it enough. I've knit a bunch of her stuff. I've knit her Alwyn. I've knit her Sabin. I've knit her that hat, and now the Gordes Beanie. Maybe some others. I'm not quite sure. But what she does is she essentially does like a hat pattern with a cable version for a sweater. So the sweater that corresponds to this is the Hammersmiths, which I believe is in testing, or I think there are two versions. There's a men's and women's. I think the women's might be out, but the men's in testing. I'm not really quite sure, but that's what's happening. I would suggest checking her out in order to have better clarity on that. But I knit her almond sweater last year when I was depressed and I wanted some black cables, and I had some leftover Gilliat yarn. So this is the yarn. So this is Gilliat. It's by Rerum Natura. It's a worsted weight yarn. It's like a woolen spun. How much is this? This is the color Ebene, I believe. Yes, Ebene. I don't know. I don't speak French. You know what? I have this thing, tangent, that I don't like it when people don't even try to say designers' names or something because it's too foreign, and it's like living in a foreign country and experiencing people with a lot of languages that I don't know or can pronounce very well. I think it's always nice to at least try to do it. I know I'm going to slaughter it. I can barely speak English correctly, especially according to my British boyfriend. So that's a thing. But give it a try, see what happens. You don't have to be great, but acknowledge that you at least like put the effort in. Anyway, back to that. It's just this black yarn by Rerum Natura. It's the Gilliat. I had some of this in my stash after the almond sweater, like I said, and I used it to make this hat. Gilliat is the recommended yarn, and I really like it. It doesn't have like the plumpiest cables, but it shows them off well, if that makes sense. Like it has great stitch definition, but it's not like the voluminous like cable and knitting cables, which is also fine with me. And so she knit this in cooperation with Rerum Natura. You could get 15% off your order if you were testing this. I just stashed stove and used the recommended yarn, and it's phenomenal. I've been wearing this. It's nice. The only modification I made is, for some reason, my gauge was really off. So I've knit enough patterns of hers to know that my gauge is just slightly looser than hers. And that's worked for like sweaters and other hats. And my gauge was so far off using the recommended needles and yarn. I was shocked by it. So I took out a repeat on this. It blocked out to the measurements that it was supposed to. So I don't know. It's a me thing. It's not a her thing. She's double checked the gauge. No other testers had problems with it. It was just me. So I did that, but I also have a small head, so I don't really mind that it's maybe tighter than design, but it fits about the design. Anyway, that was this. I would recommend it. It came out recently. This was a test knit. Did I say that? I test knit this for her. I just love her stuff. So I think that this was great. It was real fun. It took me like 2 days to make, if that. So that is that. The other winter accessory that I have is these mittens right here. These are the Sunnfjord Vatter by Berge, and I have made these mittens before. They're amazing. It's from the book Modern Nordic Knits. I have a book of his, and I've knit like a bunch of patterns from it. But I knit these with some red and like oatmeal colored yarn just because I wanted a Nordic mitten pattern and I thought it was cute. I would never wear them because they weren't black. And I tried them on and I really like them. They're so like good, and they just like fit nice. The thumb's in a nice position. I think they're really pretty. And so I knew that I wanted to make a pair for myself, so I stashed stove for a black pair because it's cold in Amsterdam and I wanted to try having a pair of mittens to bike with. Now, the thing with biking in the Netherlands is you need something that blocks the wind. It's not necessarily the cold that's the issue, it's the wind. So I thought I would give this a try. One, because I liked it and I wanted to do it anyway, and I thought they would be cute, which they are. And two, because I think the color workness of it all, like, let me turn this inside out. It's a double fabric, right? So like this is the back side of everything, and you have these floats behind the stitches. So I thought that maybe that would help with the windiness of it all. And then of course, as I use them, they're going to get more and more felted, which would help with that too. So I stash stove. I found the black I used. I have a bunch of fingering weight black. The one I selected was, I think it's West Wool in their black color. I think that's what it is, in their bicycle range. And then I had this Mominoki yarn from my Paragon that I knit. It is the most expensive yarn that I've ever bought. It's Finn wool, I guess is what it translates to, which is from the Finnish sheep. It's like a primitive breed. And it was sort of this like undyed color with like watercolor washes of blue. So I don't know if you can see this or not. I'll hold this up closer to the camera. It's not a white. It's not an ecru. It has some like blueness to it that slightly varies, but like not heavily. I wanted to do that. I was going to use some West Wool bicycle in the color Dutch Sky, which is like a gray, but then I forgot I was going to do that and I made a Chianti cardigan with it. So I used up all the yarn. This is another stash buster in addition to the hat, so I think that's great, and I have some really nice stuff for winter. Did I say this was by Berge? Regardless, all of this stuff is in the description below. You can always check out that stuff. So those are my winter accessories. I have one more to show you and then we'll talk this sweater. The story behind this one is I was feeling a little bit like I wanted to join the MKL a little bit, but the idea for my knitting now is it either has to be practical, it has to give me visibility, or it has to be a pattern that I'm creating. So like I need to do something with my knitting because it needs to start generating, at least paying for itself. For those of you who don't know, I've been unemployed for about a year and a half now. So I'm trying to like slowly move things along, and it's slowly moving along, no complaints. Like there's been some big milestones behind the scenes, but it's whatever it is. So I thought, you know, I would make some big colorful thing like Stephen West, and I did. And what I had done, and I've gone over this whole story in a previous podcast about the origins and all this stuff, is I picked out 12 colors of drops merino, and I only used 10. And I had this like pattern in mind, and I made this scarf, and it is incredible. So let me show you. It is problem pattern, it is Benetton, it is so long and soft and squishy, it is all of the colors that you want. Do you want to use scraps? That's fine. You want to use a cone with some other stuff? Do you want to use adments? Like, this is what it is. It's striped, so it keeps you sort of entertained, and because of the color contrasts, you know, that's also exciting, coming to a new one, and it's just, because it's color work, it's just stockinette in the round. And the pattern doesn't change. So once you establish the pattern, it's the same. You just switch to the main color and the contrast color, and then continue on. So I thought that this was like a fun one. I really enjoyed making it. I enjoyed playing with colors, and I did that. So if you have stuff from stash, stuff just lingering around, you know, just grab some stuff and do it. I ordered this yarn specifically for it because I do not have this colorful of yarn in my stash. I ordered drops specifically because that is my budget right now, but also they had like a decent color range. I think that Chaos yarns would have been really cool to do with this. They have amazing stuff, but that was not in my budget. Same thing with West Wool. They have great colors, but I could not afford that. So I just got some cheapo stuff and did it from there. But it is fun. It's great. I'm not the biggest fan of superwash yarns because they grow and they do whatever, but in like a scarf or a shawl, I think it's okay. The one time I definitely use superwash is for children's garments. I'm not going to give any parent I know something that is just like hand wash stuff. I'm not going to do that. So I use it for superwash or for children's garments, and I use it for I guess, colorful stuff. I would prefer a non-superwash option, but that was not in budget at the moment. One thing that I just would like to say in general is what they do to superwash is they descale it. So like all the little like ridges on the hair they take out, and then sometimes they put a coating on it, which is usually plastic. And not my favorite thing. I think one of the things that as a person, as specifically as a knitter, that we can do to be like more eco-conscious, because this is slow fashion, right? Like it takes you forever to make a sweater, it takes you forever to make anything, is use less plastic. And it's sort of like disheartening to me when I see all this the West Knit stuff for the MCAL, and everybody's ordering this yarn that's like, 15-25% plastic. It's the nylon, it's the polyamide, it's whatever. Which, I mean, like, fine, it's appropriate for it, but like, I don't know, not other options to use than like a sock yarn for these things, something that's like 100% wool that also has good colors. I don't know. I think that we as a knitting community have a problem with using like yarn that isn't 100% whatever, 100% like natural materials. I think especially, look, there's a whole argument for budget, there's a whole argument for availability and all of that stuff. I get it. As I said, for like children's knits, I go for something a little bit more easy care. But if you have the money to spend like 35 euros on a skein of yarn and it's 15 euro or 15% plastic, then maybe you can afford a non-plastic alternative that's just as beautiful. I don't know. This is probably going to get me in trouble, but like that's kind of how I feel about things. Do I have some yarns with the stuff in it? Yes. So I try not to, but sometimes it happens. But in general, I think we could be a little bit more responsible as a community into how much we're spending, where we're spending it, and the types of materials we use. Controversial. I'm sticking by it. There are exceptions for everything, but like in general, we should try to be a little bit more environmentally friendly with our knits. Anyway, rant over. Let's go through these colors. I started with this one. So this has both low contrast and high contrast. This was this pink and orange, which is like sort of the colors of my hallway, which I think is really cool. It's low contrast. When I was knitting this up, this seemed really kind of purpley next to the orange. So that's interesting. This next one is this lilac and red. This is giving me Red Hat Society in the mall circa 2003. Like, it's fantastic. Next, I have this like early 90s Nautica Petrol with a yellow sort of thing. And then I changed it up at the end. This is a different color order than I thought I would do. But I did this like deep, rich purple with this cobalt blue, and I really love it. It's low contrast. I didn't know if I really wanted two dark colors together, but I saw these and I was like, they have to go together. Also partially because the last two colors I had were this green and this pink, and I really liked this color combo. It's like, it makes me happy. It does all the things. It's like very Benetton, watermelon, whatever you want. I'm into it. So I have this whole big scarf that wraps around a couple of times, and I think it's really cool. This will be coming out December 1st. It's in testing. I've seen a couple of the tester stuff. I haven't seen all of the tester stuff, but the stuff I've seen is really cool and really fun. It's a quick knit, it's easy, and it's a cool play with color. So I need to take pictures of this. I do need to take pictures of this week, and then I will get to posting on Instagram and stuff. But I'm very excited. I'm very happy with this design. It was actually quite a big design process to get to this point. So yeah. Also, it uses up as much of the yarn as you can possibly do. I give instructions in the pattern to like maximize your yarn usage. So if you have those skeins that are like, you want to use the whole skein, this pattern can do it for you. And I show you how. So this is my Spectrum Blip scarf. That's what I'm calling it right now. And I really enjoy it. The last one is what I'm wearing. Now this is an incredible pattern made with some incredible yarn. For those of you that have been here for a while, you've heard me talking about this. This was on my LGBTQ plus designers video, and it's also been in another, I think, pattern video, because I really enjoy the motif and I do not think that that gets enough love, let's say. So this is the Modern Mudcloth by Mathews. I used Wool Dreamers Breeds for the main color, and then the other colors were Holst. So I used a Holst Titicaca and Mahogany, which is what this is. It's a lace weight alpaca, and I held it together with 3 colors of Supersoft. So I don't know if you can tell. I'm going to try to get a little closer to the camera. And you can see maybe the Titicaca really helped like make the fade a little bit more gradual, which is nice. But it starts off with this dark coffee color, and then it goes to cinnamon. And then by the time you see that coffee, cinnamon, and then you can see it goes into this gold crest color, which looks a little bit more marled with the Titicaca. And then the Breeds is an undyed color, and that is nice. So I have what is this? This is the coffee color that I have left. This was Stash, and this is oh, that's blowing out a lot, but this is the gold crest color that's kind of by the sleeves. And this was also from Stash. So the 3 whole Supersofts were from Stash. Did I buy like 4 sweaters quantities worth of yarn when I was deciding how to do this? Yeah, I spent so much money on this sweater. The price is out of control. Because I was going to do the braids with 3 different colors of Titicaca, none of which were the brown. And so I have 6 more skeins of Titicaca. And this used basically 1 and a little bit for holding it with the whole Supersoft. So and that made like a sport-ish weight, let's say. And then for the main one, I used Wool Dreamers Breeds in the Gilliat sheep. And this is a sport weight yarn. I would say it's a heavy sport. I would say Wool Dreamers yarn in general airs on a little bit of a heavier side. But this is a really cool yarn. So it has these like guard hairs in it. And this is essentially a rare breed sheep that has this red fur. They mixed it with Merino because I guess it's a little harsh. It is, 30% Merino? 35% Merino and 65% Gilliat sheep. And this is a wonderful yarn. It has some like really dark guard hairs in there, which as I spun these into cakes, really like shed. But I would say it's spun a little bit more rustic, but doesn't necessarily feel harsh. It feels really nice. Like I'm really into and surprised with the texture of this yarn on the outside. I would almost wish it was flipped because it's that good. It is incredible. And I just really like it, and I was pleasantly surprised. Also because when this washed, I don't know how much of it was the color from the Holst that came off and how much of it was like dirt. I don't want to say dirt because this doesn't feel dirty, but like it's definitely spinning oil. And it just was like a murky water when I washed it, and I was a bit surprised by how murky it was, but the way that this came out was phenomenal. I will say that when I wash anything with Holst Supersoft that I use dish soap, because that really gets the spinning wool out of it. It really makes the most of the yarn, and it just gives it that good scrub that it needs to have. So that's what I advise. That's probably part of it, is some of the color of the brown. I don't know. Whatever happened in that blocking process was amazing, and I think it looks really cool. So let's go over the sweater. It is a top-down raglan, and I did make some modifications. So what I did is I added, there are no short rows in this, which I think is a shame. It should be put some short rows in there. But I added them in the color work in the back, but I forgot to do the increasing when I did it. So you can see that this goes up a little bit. That's my own fault. Don't do it. What I would end up doing is it actually tells you to cast on for the collar and go down. I would not cast on for the collar. What I like to do is a German twisted cast on and then knit everything down. And then once I get below the separation, then I go back and I knit the collar. So that's what I would do, but put the short rows in the back of the collar ribbing as opposed to in the color work. It's going to be a lot easier. It's going to fit you better. So that's what I would do with it. Don't follow me. Also, partially because I did the short row collar, but other thing is I added more shaping than what was called for in the pattern in the yoke. And it says for the size to, increase at a certain rate. And I increased at a quicker rate, which made the yoke depth a little bit closer to my armpit and a little bit more towards what my preferred length is. So there's no schematic. It's about like 12 inches ish of yoke. I like mine a little bit more shallow. So I did, the increases so I could split for sleeves early and then just kind of make it how I want. It's a raglan. It's not that difficult. And then I knit the body. I did about 9 inches of each color. And then for the sleeves, I did the same thing. Actually, I just split the cinnamon ball into 2 and it worked out phenomenally that the cinnamon color ended, I think I was in with like 1 or 2 stripes for the body and the sleeves of it. So it used almost a full 50 gram ball. It had been used before, so it wasn't fully 50 grams, but it was a little less. And then I used the gold crest for the rest. I could have done a couple of rows with another color. I think that this is a little bit longer of the gold crest in terms of on the sleeves, not on the body. And I did that. So yeah, that's what I did. I'm sure I modified the rib to some extent. Once you've knit enough patterns, once you're past like the yoke part, then it's just like, I do what I want. It's not great for testing, but it's great when you're knitting because you can, put the pattern away, enjoy yourself, have fun knitting it. It went by super fast. I forget how quick color work goes. I know it's all over color work, but it's also just stocking it in the round and it's like, plucking it. So I'm really pleased with this. Don't hold me to this, but maybe I'm dipping my toe into wearing color. And what I mean by that is I am thinking about, but have yet to do so because I'm a little bit of a yarn buying band because the finances are not great. But I just think that wearing like a natural undyed wool, back to my whole rant, for me, I think these undyed colors sometimes need to creep their way into my wardrobe. So instead of like trying to knit something like electric green and doing that, I think that I can maybe make a sweater with undyed and then use that as like my color, because everything else I have is black. So if the sweater is a different color, it's going to match the rest of my wardrobe. But yeah, I'm playing with the idea. Let's see how it goes. I'm not really sure. So let me model this for you a little bit, and I'm going to show you the inside because it's really cool. All right, sweater is off. As you can see, it has this beautiful central motif that's just on the front and the back, and then just these really cool color work motifs. Super, super simple to memorize. I did not use a chart for the sleeves. The only thing I did is I looked at the chart for the midsection and tried to figure out like where I was when I was working on it. It's a really nice sweater and it's easy to memorize. It's not that difficult, and I used a lot less yarn than I thought I did. So this is my problem. I always buy too much and then it's in stash for forever, but this is a beautiful yarn and I want to use it for something special. Like I guess most of my yarn, who knows. Anyway, I wanted to show you the inside. Don't look too closely because there's some mistakes, but like in general, you can see the fade better. So it goes from this darker color to the cinnamon to the gold crest. And I just thought that it looked really cool. And you can really see, especially when it was wet, but I think in this now, you can see the alpaca strand that I held with it. So that is that. And it's a really nice like fade of a pattern, I guess, on the inside. You know, it might be worth doing the opposite on another sweater. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to show you that. I think that this is really pretty. And I've been talking for 30 minutes, something like that. So I'll let you go. Next week, the week after, I'll be back with some more content. I have other whips that I need to show you. One sweater is going way too fast, so I need to hop on camera soon. But I think that that's next time. What I want you to do, I want you to go and vote if you're an American this upcoming week. I don't know when this is. This is in the upcoming weeks. I have already sent in my ballot. I did a absentee ballot and I made sure it was delivered back to where I was registered. I encourage you to vote, and I would vote down the ballot because a lot of the people that you probably don't like in politics had a start in, you know, the school board or the city council or something, and because of that, people are voting them up, and up, and that is important to recognize. So vote. This is an important election, and you need to vote for people who are going to support people in your community, yourself, women, stop bullying children, you know, like that sort of thing. Like, don't support bad people. Do nice things. Like, I don't know how to say this. Some of these people are absolutely putting policies that are terrible, and God knows what else. Please go out and vote. Also, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Be nice to people. Leave children alone. You know, leave women's bodies alone. And I will talk to you later. Bye.